heads up that it is being recorded, so just kind of be careful with what you're saying. So tonight is really a chance for you to ask our wonderful guests anything you'd like about the roles in general, campaigning, work, those niggling questions that you have just been wondering as you make your decision as to whether or not you want to stand for election, and also if you really made that decision to help you kind of like in the next few weeks. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce you to Gerald. So Gerald started off as our Vice President of Cavendish campus before we changed over the roles, and then became our first Vice President of Activities and finished in July 2020. So Gerald, are you happy to quickly introduce yourself?
Hi, Hannah. Thank you for the introduction. I mean, I think you've introduced me enough already. Hi, guys. My name is Gerald Aguilar. So yes, I ran my first year as Vice President of Cavendish. And then my second year, I'm running as Vice President of Activities, which was great. Like Hannah said, please just, if you have any questions, I will just put in a group chat, the chat function. Happy to answer them, give you all my honest answers. But yeah, thank you.
Fabulous, thank you. Yeah, and Gerald doesn't work for us anymore, so he can give you complete honesty. Fabulous. Okay, so I've got a question to start off from me. So what was your favourite thing about being a SAAB?
I think everyone will say this, but it's just about meeting people, getting to know everyone, different people, but also it's about the self-development part, especially for me. I was very introverted person in the beginning of when I came to uni, so all I did was just study and just go home. I didn't get myself involved in the Students' Union, but having the chance to actually change that and change people who were like me, in terms of helping them through sports and societies, and just reaching out to them in the best way that I could, and seeing the engagement flow through that was like one of the best things about the role that I won't forget. But yeah,
love that. So what made you kind of have that confidence from being quite introverted and suddenly being able to run from these roles?
It was my interactions with the previous sabbatical officers. So seeing what they did, because back at uni when I was like there, probably it's the same on social media, seeing what they're doing online on Instagram and everything, it was like, wow, I wanted to be like that. I wanted to do that. How do you become so confident? Where does your passion lie from? And from there, my interest stemmed, and I just wanted to help people. And through there, that's when I applied. It took a lot, last minute, literally on the lot before the deadline. I did submit my manifesto point, but it's a decision I never would regret.
Yeah. So if you kind of like were struggling in confidence even when you were going through your very first campaign, how did you kind of like overcome that in order to be able to speak to more people to be able to get elected?
It's just reaching out to the Students' Union, really. I guess for my case, it was reaching out to the previous SAABs. But for anyone who is thinking of doing it, the Students' Union's team is especially great for things like this. So if you have any questions, even for myself or the current SAABs or anyone in the SU team, it was just having that informative information and like seeing what I can do, what I can't do, and just challenging myself. I'm very competitive. I like change. I don't like to be the word called stuck, especially in this time of day. Like it's quarantine, you feel stuck more than ever. But doing something out your bubble, pushing yourself would be something worth investing. So yeah.
Love that. So what question for Mariam? So do you need to take a gap year while doing this role? So like a gap year from your studies?
No, I didn't. You don't have to. I did work, so I was a Vice President of Activities, and I did study at the same time. So it is possible. You don't have to. But I think kind of in terms of gap years, is that allowed?
doing your studies for the year, because you did do that in your first year, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Studies, yeah. So you did some part-time studying in your second year, didn't you? But
Yeah, part-time studying, yes, that's the key word there, part-time,
yeah. So we would recommend you take a year out, especially if you're studying full-time, because it's an intense full-time job, and then also doing an intense full-time degree. But yeah, Gerald did some part-time studying in his second year. So always opportunities to learn. We got any more questions? So do we need to finish doing our studies in order to run, or can we apply while we're still studying?
Sorry, could you repeat that question again, Hannah?
Yep. So do you need to have finished your studies by the time that you run, or can you do it while you're studying?
So if you're in your third year, you still be able to run, but you can like we just said, it has to be either part-time studying, but it is what's it called? It is advised to take gap year because it is intense. They don't tell you how intense it is, but it is intense, but it's worthwhile. It is worthwhile. Thank you for the question.
Yeah. So how did you know that this role was the role for you?
I think it was through my like kind of where my community was based at. So I was very engaged with the Dragons, which is our which is the sports teams at UWSU. I was the captain of the basketball team at the time, and it just made sense for me to build and work around that remit because it was somewhere I familiarized myself with, and also I really care about the sports and societies at UWSU. So there was, yeah, that's kind of what I realized that's what I wanted to do. I guess it's just going like, if you wanted to know what you wanted to do, it's just going step by step of picking out the portfolios and seeing, do you resonate with this one? Do you resonate with that one? Which one do you resonate more with? And if you're still stuck there, reach out to the SAABs who are working at SU right now, and just drop them a message, drop them an email. I'm sure they're happy to reply to you, give you a bit of insight of how it is currently now, because my time was different. My time was where we were physical, but there will be changes. But yeah, it's best to get the most recent advice if you want to, know the role.
Okay, so how did you come up with your manifesto points?
I just look back at my university experience. Like I said before, all I did was study and go home. So my first year coming up with my manifesto points, it was all about what would enhance my student experience. So what would make my student experience better at university rather than just going home and studying. So what was my manifesto in my first year? Oh my God, it's been a while, hasn't it? So one of them was pretty much trying to get engagement for unengaged students, so people who are not really engaged with the Students' Union, and helping them, creating activities, events, giving them a platform to actually stand up and help themselves too. But yeah, it's just about your past experience and what do you think should change. So it's all based on your own personal experience.
Yeah, love that. So yeah, just about getting to know what students' issues are and what you think you can do to fix them. Okay, then a quick question about visas not being able to work more than 20 hours. How is it solved? So I'll quickly answer that one if that's okay, just because it's a bit more of a technical question. So these are 37.5 hour a week full-time jobs. So what would happen with your visa is, because we'd be expecting you to suspend your studies for a year, if you are still midway through your studies, then we would support you to apply for a new visa, which would enable you to be able to do a full-time role, and we would kind of like fund the application costs around that if that was something which you needed. So for example, our current president is here on a well, is actually currently not in the UK because of the coronavirus, but had that not been a thing, they're based in India, and so therefore we've supported them in getting the appropriate visa when they're allowed to come over to the UK to be able to come and work here. So yeah, you wouldn't have the 20-hour requirement because you'd be on a different type of visa, because you'd be working full-time rather than studying. That's okay. We got any more questions? What was your biggest challenge or challenges as Vice President of Activities?
Oh, wow. Well, the first main challenge was because the portfolios were new. So being welfare activities, education. The first big challenge was actually transitioning from Vice President to Cavendish to the activities room, because I would always want to do everything and every little bit, but not tunneling down into just doing activities was a challenge, because I just wanted to do a lot. Like there was always room for me to kind of like dip my toes in. Biggest challenge, I guess it's just it was the interaction, because there's so many societies, so many sports teams, and it was trying to gather their voices. And what I like to do is speak to them one-to-ones. So actually having to meet up with them and getting to know what they would want and what they would like to change. But just being a sabbatical officer overall, it's for me, it was time management. Like again, I said I was doing part-time studying, so balancing my work with studying, with playing in the basketball team for the university was a lot. And sometimes I would let work go this way, I would let studies go that way. So it's just the balance. But like again, if you do in the introduction of the role, you do get a lot of training. So they will prepare you for everything like that. So you shouldn't have any worries considering that. But yeah, thank you for the question.
Would you say you're better at time management now that you've done all of that in 1 year?
Yeah. So since the beginning of my sabbatical, my time at being a SAAB to now, then yes. Yeah.
Good.
And it's just it's a skill that you use even after your SAAB role.
Yeah. So what did you do for your campaign? So how did you make people aware of who you are and what changes you wanted to implement?
Thank you, Linda. Is this question regarding election campaigning, or was it campaigning for my manifesto?
Okay, I think Gerald's having a couple of internet problems. So I think he's asking Lynn to clarify, is that an elections to do with your election campaign? Yeah. Hopefully Gerald will come back shortly. Otherwise we all
Can you guys see me?
Oh yeah, I can hear you, I can't see you. Yeah, okay.
Is there time lag? Hello?
Okay, no, I think you're trying it. Yeah, so election campaign.
Okay, I want to be very clear, so no one misses out what I say. Am I still lagging?
No, you're good now.
Okay, good, perfect. Okay, cool. Yeah, so in terms of elections, bearing in mind my time was different because we got the chance to physically campaign. So what I did during my first year, which was the year like you're new to this, everything was new, like you didn't know what to do, how to do it properly. So what I did was literally get my campaign team first. That's number one. Make sure you got a team who's dedicated to help you, knowing the goal and just getting everyone to actually help you out with this. And then you got your leaflets. So I got a budget where I can use to either print, make t-shirts, do whatever I want with them, with the money. So I made loads of posters and leaflets, and then just going around different campuses and putting them up, and not forgetting to actually speak to the students and telling them why you're running, and actually tell your campaign team to have, like, little phrases, little keywords, buzzwords, buzz phrases, to actually help. But now, I don't know if it's a question, but what I'd advise is getting a big campaign team to go on social media, because everything's going to be online now in terms of the elections part. So make sure you get a big campaign team or a campaign team, get them ready to fire out to like their social media pages, to their students, to their friends. And even if you know your lecturers, any lecturers they know, ask them if they could do like a shout out for you guys. So you guys will speak on their lecture saying, oh, this is what I'm running for this, maybe a short video, a video as well, and that you guys can put out on social media, getting everyone to share that. It's just a lot of like, how would you want to be engaged? Basically, how would you want to be engaged with elections, and trying to kind of think of that idea and run it through that way. But yeah. And how did you?
Yeah, love that advice. Okay, so next question is sorry, lost my tongue there. Do you think you have to be involved in any sports teams in order to run as vice president of activities?
Nope. You can be just a regular student who just wanted to join, to be a part of a community. Doesn't have to be Dragons, doesn't have to be a sports team society, it can be anyone. And if you want to run and you want to make a change, and it's under the remit of activities or whatever sub role it is, you can do it. Just believe in yourself. Like, honestly, even if you have the slightest idea of running, which you do because you're on this call, thank you for joining, just honestly do it, because it's the best thing you'll ever like put yourself into. I have no regrets of doing it, but yeah. So the answer to your question is no.
Yeah. A great place on campus, but they're not the only place on campus, especially this year, because they've been able to do all the same things they normally be able to do. So was it easy to engage students to the events, or are they more interested to participate themselves? So I think that question is asking, did students want to actively engage themselves, or did you have to kind of force them to get involved? Or not force them, encourage them strongly to get involved?
Yeah, it's back then it was a majority of the time it was students didn't know who the students union was. So it was at the time the SU team was trying to increase engagement. So the answer to the question, it was hard, but we did find ways to engage with students. So firstly, like the obvious one is just going. One of the best thing is about being a SAAB is just going to speak to students, just like asking them what they want, and kind of gathering that information and seeing what you can do with that. So, for example, there wasn't much of non-competitive sport, so just like normal non-competitive sport participation. And what I did was there was a lot of interest in dodgeball and volleyball and table tennis and just other sports that wasn't that the SU didn't currently do, and sports that SU didn't currently do, and sports that we did, but not on a competitive level. So it was just getting like a tournament going. I introduced a dodgeball tournament. So after that, after the dodgeball tournament, they had loads of participation, because these are students who don't usually engage with the students union. And then at the end of it, a dodgeball team came alive. So yeah, it is about reaching out first. yeah, and it's about, again, like I said, like imagine if you're a student who never knew what SU was and thinking how would I like to be engaged at like these current times. Yeah.
Yeah, love that. Yeah, definitely about reaching people where they are rather than expecting them to always come to you. So what are your best memories of your time as a SAAB?
Oh my goodness, there is a lot. Like I treasure
Your
every
favorite
single one
bubble
of them.
tea?
Yeah, you Hannah and her bubble tea. That's one. um Let me pick three because I'm gonna go on a memory trip if I do too much. So favorite memories. All right, let's do one that's practical. So during my first year, um, I was me and other fellow Sabs, Jamila, who you'll meet tomorrow, and Lareb, who was the previous president with me my first year. We were engaged with something called Green Dot, so which is active bystander training for sexual harassment, domestic violence, and everything. So it was just getting that noticed in the campus. So what I and the team did was social experiment to see if students would react to these kind of scenarios. So a scenario of a student shouting at another student, would anyone intervene? A student pushing or like physically gonna hit another student, would someone intervene? And just and interesting enough, at the end of one of them, where a big guy shouted at a small tiny a small individual, someone came up for the first time. So we did this 5 times, and that was the only scenario where someone came up, and then it was just like, yeah, well done, yay. Someone actually stood up, which was great. But it actually shows that there's loads of barriers in terms of what's it called, those kind of conflicts. But that was one. Two, I think I went for a long one. I told you if you give me too much, I'd say a lot. Best memories of SAAB. It was just, this is personal for me. So one is just being able to change. Like there was a big change from my first year, like honestly, like from before I ran to at the end of it. I have so much confidence in myself now. Public speaking was a big thing for me. I would shake reading piece of paper all the time, but now doing so much public speaking. Did graduation talks, that was amazing, in front of more than 2,000 people. Working with a fantastic team. Honestly, there is so much, meeting students, getting to know them, different walks of life. Just my mind is blown. Honestly, my mind has just been blown in a good way, where I'm able to take in and absorb like life, because you walk life with not knowing these things until you're actually in it. And what best place to do at Westminster, because we're the most diverse university. Come on.
Once in a lifetime jobs, it's hard to bring down just 3 memories. Okay, so did you make any mistakes, and if yes, how did you fix them?
Yeah, I did. Time management was a big thing in the beginning. I didn't know how to time manage myself well, so I would show up to work late, but then stay early, then stay later. There are things that are expected from you that you should do, and sometimes at the beginning of the year, I didn't do them as well as I could have, and that's where your work skills kind of build. This is where something you'll learn on the job, and you can take this anywhere after you're doing your sub role. If you do it for 1 year, if you do it for 2 years. But yeah, mushroom mistakes. So from mistakes, that was pretty much. Well, it was a big mistake. I didn't even make a mistake. I was good. I was good. It was just my time management. I own up to that. That was so at the end of every year, you have a P60 review, And that's where like your team and your staff team, the university kind of comment and feedback on like how you did. And one big one was time management, but that changed on my second year. But yeah.
That's awesome. It's just about personal development, and it's
Yeah,
necessary
yeah,
to get that support for.
yeah.
Okay, so what would you tell pre-sabbatical Gerald if you could?
Oh my God, do it again. Oh wow, what would you tell pre-sabbatical Gerald about this job if you could? Yeah, do it again. Honestly, it's the most life-changing experience I've ever had. I'm just
Would
thankful
you do
for.
anything differently?
Pardon?
Would you do anything differently?
Yes, yeah. I would. Oh, what would I do? I would. Are we talking about before I applied or during?
Both. Yeah, go for
Both.
both.
So before I applied, to be honest, I went out in my first year. Like I burnt out because we had the time I did the first year, we had 2 weeks to campaign physically. So I was in campus 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. like every day. Oh, not every day, Monday to Friday. But then oh, here's a good one. So make sure, oh, this is before, this one is physical, but I had to make sure I was going in campaigning at the right times, because sometimes Regents would be quiet at 12 o'clock, but then Harrow would be busy at 12 o'clock. So that would be like that's how I do something differently. But like during, just, oh, this is a lot of self-reflection, isn't it? What would I do differently? I would.
Okay, so we had a clarification on the question. Sorry, my bad. It meant in regards to the job and not in relation to campaigning. So, what would you tell pre-sabbatical Gerald about the job itself?
Oh,
Or
I
do you think
see.
it's
I see. I see. I would tell Gerald, it is a lot, but I'm telling you, it is worthwhile. You need to be, you don't be prepared. You can't say someone be prepared, because I don't think you'll ever be prepared for this job, but it's just be a sponge, be like SpongeBob. Just absorb everything the best you can. And if you need help, just say it, because you've got another 4 other SAABs who is in the same boat as you, going through the same thing. And just reach out. Make sure you're asking for help. Don't just keep it in. But yeah, well done, Gerald. You did good.
And yeah, you did do good. Very proud to have worked with you, sir.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Have we got any more questions?
Thank you for the questions, everyone, by the way.
You guys really good questions.
Yeah. You're making me miss the job.
I've got one question for you. So what does a typical day-to-day life look like as a vice president activities?
Okay. During my time, day-to-day would be going to the office, say hello to everyone, get yourself settled. To be honest, no. Sometimes it's not like that. Sometimes you got meetings like thrown at you everywhere and anywhere. But you have to be prepared. It's just about time management. Again, I can't express how much this is. Time manage yourself. So you got the typical thing of checking emails, going to meetings, speaking to students, attending events. If you want to, if you need to, it's up to you. But it is mostly, I mostly interacted with students, which I liked about the job. So it was just going down to social spaces, speaking to them, playing ping pong, table tennis, seeing what they're up to. And it's just like you go around and you'll learn.
Oh, I think Gerald's having a few internet difficulties again. We'll give his internet a second to come back. So in the meantime, I'll answer the question about votes if that's okay. So there isn't a set number of votes that you need to be elected, because we use what's called a single transferable vote system. So that means that in order for anyone to be elected, they need to try and get over 50% of the votes. So when people are putting forward who they want to vote for, they can vote in preference order. So say they want Hannah first, Gerald second, Anna third, who's a staff member, is on this call. And then in order to be able to, so if say Anna didn't get many votes in the first round, she would be eliminated, and the people who voted for her first, their second preference would be taken into consideration. So it's really hard to tell exactly how many specific numbers of votes that you'll need, especially because we've got no way of predicting how many students are going to vote overall in the election. But the winning candidate will take into consideration all people's kind of like second, third, fourth, fifth preferences, will at some point get to over 50% of the votes. So I think Gerald lost his internet, but hopefully he's coming back online now. Hello, we lost you for a second there, pal. Is your internet working now? Oh, I can't hear you if you are talking. Are you talking? Hello? Can you hear me? Oh, some technical difficulties here for a second, sorry.
You guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Can hear you for a while then.
I can't hear you.
Oh, can you not hear me?
Is it because you're on mute?
I shouldn't be on mute.
Give me 1 second. I'm just going to close it. I'll come back.
Okay.
Sorry.
If you want to keep putting any questions you've got in the chat box while we wait for Gerald's internet just to quickly fix. Any final questions people have got? And if for some reason Gerald's internet doesn't come back, then I'll send them to him in an email and we can get them answered via email instead. Hello.
Sorry about that.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah.
Okay, I did me. I answered one of the questions on your behalf. I hope you don't mind. It was just about votes and how many you needed, and explained quickly the
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've gone through that one, don't worry. But yeah, just that you can still try and get second and third preference votes, and they all help. Thank you for coming. Well, if no one's got any more questions, that is good time to end, but feel free to put any more questions in the chat. It was really lovely to hear from you, and sorry about his technical difficulties. Thank you, Gerald, for coming and speaking to us, and I look forward to hopefully hearing from you soon. If you do have any questions, you can drop us an email on sg-elections@westminster.ac.uk, and we'll answer as quickly as possible. You can also apply on the website uwsu.com/elections. For any questions at all, please feel free to drop me an email on sg-elections. Hopefully Anna will put the email in the chat. Here, there it is for you. And either me or a colleague will answer them. If you've got any questions for Gerald, I can also pass them on to him via that. Have a good evening, everybody, and thank you for coming.